Hello, folks, and welcome back to Mad Wolf Survival. Well, due to some problems, some copyright issues, I suppose, you guys have to withstand or stand and watch a minute and 26 seconds of this, and then we can get on with the video.
Power! Who got the bass? Who got the power? Who got the bass? Come on!
Nah, I wouldn't do that to you. Enjoy, folks. Forges, and just coming from like a survivalist perspective myself, this is kind of what you would see in a situation like this, with somebody's building their own forge or something. This is along that lines. Now, one of the things I liked about the original forging is that you had the molds. So you would put your iron in, and then you would produce the part, put the fuel in to fuel it. I really liked this way of doing things, and you had a mold for just about everything important. Like all the gun parts, like the scope, and, you know, bullets and stuff. Yeah. So, like, and your forge didn't store the material, which made so much more sense. I feel like they kind of lost some, like, realism when they started doing that. So this would be a really nice thing to see put back in the game. Once again, I'm not saying make the forges look like this, but you know, something similar. So now let's get on to schematics. I miss the schematic system. To me, that was always a very good way of doing things, very unique way of doing things. And it's just, there's not much to say about it other than the fact that I enjoyed it. Finding all the schematic parts to assemble, you know, the iron suit it was fun. So yeah. Now, I've seen a lot of videos talking about how the newer 7 Days to Die leans very heavily into the books. And I was thinking about it, and I remember it always has kind of leaned very heavily into the books. You need all these books to unlock certain things, like a hunting knife, you know, like urban combat book. Like you need these to unlock things to craft, which it's been in the game for a long time, so it's always something that we've always depended on very heavily in this game. There's more books now, like it depends on it even heavier now, but yeah, so we've always had the books. Now, I want to talk about one of my favorite I don't know, does that work? Yes. Sorry, folks. There we go. One of my favorite biomes, and they removed this from the game, and I have no idea. Before I step in, just to give you an idea of how big it is, it wasn't a very big biome. We call this the Plains. I'm not sure what its actual name is, but this is how big it is. It isn't a very large biome. There's not really much of anything in it. You got one little military base here. School-like building there. That's a bank. And then you got a few houses here, and over here. So this was my favorite biome out of all of them. And I used to love coming here and living here. And it was just, one of the reasons was because I played with a friend of mine back in the day a lot, and it was always good to be able to see him coming, because you never knew what he was up to. He was either on his way over to be a friend or on his way over to be a pain in my ass. I used to do the same thing to him. So they removed this from the game, and I can't figure out why for the life of me. It was my favorite biome. And one of the things that I love most about it, now you're probably going to want earphones for this if you want to actually be able to hear all the ambient sound, but one of my favorite things about this is the original 7 Days to Die had a very heavy ambient sound. Now, when I say that, like, all of these crickets that you hear, you would hear that for real in a time like this. There would be such a lack of vehicles and electricity and cars and people, like, you know, scurrying around, that this is what the world would sound like. And I get why they dialed back that sound, because it is very intense. It's a lot. So I'm not saying they should put this back in the game, because they do still have the ambient sound. It's just not as intense. However, this next little bit up here is going to probably take a while for it to start playing. But the planes had this sound. Now, I can't get any version, well, the next few versions later than this for some reason, to run, which has the baby crying. This version doesn't. But when you go into the planes, it has this ambient sound that used to just creep me out, especially in earphones. And in a little bit later version, or maybe it was an earlier version, there's a baby crying in the background. That right there. Shh. Bounces from ear to ear. Always got my eyes twitching. Yeah, you're gonna need earphones for this one. It's just the sound in the plane. Curious about what that whispering actually says. I'm gonna look it up. But yeah, it's always just. And then there's that one particular sound. I remember the first time I heard it, it like got me like twitching, like looking around, and it's coming. Even that little music right there. That little music is there. There it is. I remember being like, what the hell was that? Where is it? What is it? It's coming, isn't it? It does it again. I know it does. Okay, so that I think they need to bring back the planes and maybe dial back the birds a little bit. Yes, that is exactly what you would hear, but dial back the birds a bit, but keep that ambient sound, the creepy whispering, and then that weird kind of roaring sound in the distance. Keep that and make a zombie that is specifically for the planes, and that you will not see or find outside of the planes. If they were to do something like that, put this back in the game, that would give some of the originality that 7 Days to Die had when it first came out. Because I can tell you right now, it is not as original as it was before. And for example, the bridges. This is something I miss, something they really, really need to put back in the game. I don't know if this concrete bridge does it. No, the concrete bridge doesn't do it. Oh, it does. The bridges are decaying. Like, if you walk around on them, that happens. That, even buildings. There are certain buildings, and I'll scrooge over to one to show you guys, that when you walk along the roof, it caves in. one particular building that I'll show you, and I'll go over there now. But yeah, they need to put this back in the game. Like, it made things so much difficult. And with vehicles now, having to repair bridges just so you can smoothly cross the map would add like an epic amount of extra awesomeness that you could bank on. Like that would be a unique thing to the series. Now I believe, I don't know if it's in the older versions, but I do believe that your houses that you build would even decay over time. So I'm gonna pop over to this place to talk about, just to show you what I meant about the roof really quickly. So we'll be right back.
1 week later.
Really quickly, I would like to talk about the burnt forests biome. That's where I am, right? No, this is the wastelands. That. That made this a little freaky. Like the ambient sound in the original, the original 7 Days to Die kind of gave me chills, to tell you the truth. Okay, almost there.
1 minute 37 seconds later.
All right, here we are. So this building here, the junkyard, is the first time I had ever experienced this, and I was running from a zombie. I came up here, jumped up on this roof, ran up here, and then that happened. I was like, what the? Oh, except for I fell all the way down, and I definitely died. So yeah, I missed that, like, because the buildings were decaying, they were falling apart. That just felt so real, you know what I mean? Like, even though everything is the exact same car and stuff like that, but it had kind of an actual, the world has ended, everything is decaying, everything is falling apart. Now, one last thing before we go, they need to put this back in the game desperately. Being able to collect these barrels up. I loved making huge barrel storages. I used to fill them right up, and now that we have vehicles, that would be such an awesome thing to have. Storehouses of barrels. Just think about it. You gotta keep them off, like, away from zombies as much as possible, so that way they don't explode them on you. That would be an awesome thing. Well, anyways, folks, let me know what you think. Leave me a comment, like and subscribe, and until next time, stay safe, have fun, and keep surviving.
Power! Who got the bass? Who got the power? Who got the bass? Come on!